Good morning, everyone. This is Laura Tibbetts in the system office. I'm showing that it's 11 o'clock and we have our committee on the call. So with that, I will turn it over to Chair Flores.
Thank you, Laura. Good morning and welcome to the Telephonic Rules and Regulations Committee meeting for August 3rd, 2022. I am Regent Don Flores, chair of this committee. The time is 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Secretary of State as required by Texas Open Meetings Act, Government Code, Chapter 551. Please note that the audio of this meeting is being broadcast live. Before we take roll call, I would like to remind everyone to please mute their phones unless you need to speak. Laura, let's begin the roll call with committee members and any other regents.
Thank you. I'll start with you, Regent Flores.
Present.
Regent Foskey.
Present.
Regent Tinsley.
Here.
Thank you. Do we have any other regents on the call? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. May we have a roll call for the system office and component representatives?
Sure. Starting with Chancellor McCall.
Present.
Nellie Herrera.
Here.
Daniel Harper.
Here.
Therese Sternenberg.
Here.
Derek Alexander. Here. Carol Fox.
Here.
Sandy Pohl.
Here.
Pierce Mitchell.
Here.
Ashley Spicer Ramos. Here. Malu Gonzalez.
Here.
Do we have any other system staff? Okay, I'll move down to our institutions, beginning with Lamar University.
This is Jaime Taylor, and I've got Dan Brown and Jamie Larson here with me.
Thank you. Sam Houston.
Elisa White.
And Amanda Withers.
Thank you. Sol Ross.
Bernie Cantons.
Bonnie Albright.
Okay, thank you. Texas State.
Kelly Danfus here.
And Eric Algo.
And Lisa Lloyd.
Thank you, Lisa. LIT.
Lonnie Howard, Angela Hill, Rudy Gonzalez.
Thank you, President Howard. Lamar State College Orange.
Mary Wickland, Wendy Elmore, Tom Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And go ahead, Dr. Renard.
Betty Renard and Mary Wickland.
Thank you. And did I miss anyone on roll call? Okay, Chair Flores.
Thank you, Laura. With that, I would like to note that Nellie Herrera briefed me on the agenda items prior to the meeting. At this time, I ask that she present the Rules and Regulations Committee agenda items. Nellie?
Thank you, Chairman Flores. Today we have proposals for 5 changes, and these are 5 changes to our system rules. The first proposal to change is located on page RR1, and it is in Board Book page 359. The amendment is to Chapter 3, Paragraph 7. It's titled the Audit Function. The amendment is proposed by Ms. Carol Fox, our Chief Audit Executive. Carol, would you like to speak to the proposed amendment?
Thank you. Chapter 3, Paragraph 7 serves as the internal audit charter. The internal audit standards require me as the Chief Audit Executive to periodically review the charter and present any changes to the board for approval. The revisions to Paragraph 7 are designed to address practices outlined in the internal auditing standards, changes in state laws, to eliminate redundant references, clarify titles and personnel designations, and reflect current practices authorized by the internal auditing standards and state law. They're fairly straightforward, and at this point, I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Chairman Flores, unless there are any questions regarding the first item, I'll proceed to the second one.
Are there any questions? Nellie, please proceed to the next item.
Thank you. The second proposed amendment to our rules is located on page RR8 or in Board Book page 366. This is an amendment to Chapter 3, Paragraph 10. This proposed changes here attempt to clarify the delegated authority amounts to the chancellor and component presidents for procurement and contracting purposes. This amendment is brought forward by Vice Chancellor Daniel Harper. Daniel, would you like to speak to this amendment?
Sorry, coming around to the microphone. Yes, ma'am. So this is just a cleanup. So historically, we've had some issue with saying, is the authority 499,999 or is it 500,000? And so this was identified actually by Carol Fox when she was doing a review that we had failed to capture and get this in line with the rest of the rules. That concludes.
Chairman Flores, if there are no questions about this item, I can continue with the next item.
Are there any questions regarding this item? Nellie, please proceed to the next item.
The third proposed rule change is located on page RR10 or at page 368 of the board book. This is an amendment to Chapter 5, and it adds a new subparagraph to the section titled Retirement and Recognition of Service. The new subparagraph clarifies that emeritus status may be conferred upon administrators by proper board proposal or resolution. Chairman Flores, if there are any questions about this, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I can proceed to the next one.
Are there any questions? Nellie, please proceed to the next item.
The fourth proposed rule change is located on page RR11 or in Board Book 369. Here we are proposing certain amendments to our Title IX sexual misconduct policy. The proposed amendments do a couple of things. One, it actually clarifies that the SMP, the sexual misconduct policy, has to be distributed to all students, faculty, and staff on a yearly basis. The other proposal to this rule would modify the definition of supportive measures. And we are modifying the definition to clarify that in certain circumstances, the term supportive measures can also be considered an immediate and appropriate corrective action. So the two terms, when they're used within our policy, will at times mean the same thing. It's a clarification that we've made, and Chair Flores, I am happy to answer any questions there may be about the proposals to the sexual misconduct policy.
Are there any questions regarding this item? Nellie, please proceed to the next.
Yes, sir. The fifth proposal, this is a rule change located on page RR15 or at page 373 of the board book. This last item actually pertains to proposed amendments to Sam Houston State University's campus carry policy. And for this, I'd ask President White if you or if a member of your team would like to speak to this item.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. I've asked Amanda Withers to speak on behalf of Sam Houston.
Thank you. Sam Houston is required to review our concealed carry policy each even number year. During that review, we have made several non-substantive changes to the language to clarify they do not change the intent or the delivery of the policy. The only change that may be of note is located in section 6.01. Previously prohibited concealed carry locations were reviewed by a standing committee. In an effort to be more responsive, thoughtful, and efficient in this process, that review will now be conducted by the President and her cabinet. We appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Withers. Chairman Flores, unless there are any questions about this item, I'm happy to answer those now, or if not, this concludes the presentation of the proposed changes to our system rules.
Thank you, Nellie. Are there any questions regarding that last item? Thank you. Regent Foskey, are there any items that you would like to move off the consent agenda for consideration by the full board?
No.
Thank you. Regent Tinsley, are there any items that you would like to move off the consent agenda for consideration by the full board?
No.
Thank you. As no one is requesting that we move any items off the consent agenda, Regent Foskey and Regent Tinsley, I move that we recommend board approval of the proposed changes to the system rules on the consent agenda. Regent Foskey, do you agree?
Yes.
Regent Tinsley, do you agree?
Agreed.
Thank you, Regent Foskey and Regent Tinsley, for your responses. In light of these responses, the proposed changes to the system rules will remain on the consent agenda with committee's recommendation for approval. As there are no further items to consider, this concludes the business of the Rules and Regulations Committee and concludes today's telephonic meeting. Thanks to everyone for calling and taking part of and for the record, the time is 11:11. Thank you, folks, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
good luck on your speech Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you.